chancellors across the state are seeing a pay increase. An ECU basketball player's career has come to an end, and a cross-country superstar joins us in the studio. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of TEC TV. I'm Jessica Gribbin. ECU police are investigating after graffiti and hate speech was found in Jones' residence hall over the weekend. 2 suspects have been identified by security camera footage and are not employees or students at ECU. The graffiti was found on a second-floor stairwell wall and targeted African Americans, but was not targeted towards a specific individual. No arrests have been made. Chancellor Steve Ballard says, begin quote, "Across our campus, we will continue to fight against hate-filled speech and biased crimes against all groups. Those are not East Carolina values." He also adds, "We will work toward a community of acceptance that honors diversity as a strength and value," end quote. 12 chancellors in the UNC system, including Chancellor Ballard, will see an increase in their pay. Ballard, who will step down in the summer, will now receive $385,000 per year. The minimum salary for the chancellor at ECU is now $431,000. The UNC Board of Governors approved the decision to increase the salary of the chancellors in the UNC system. The decision follows a study that concluded most of the salaries of leaders within the system campuses were below market value. 7 of the chancellors, including Ballard, are still below the market salary ranges. The last salary increase for the chancellor position came in 2012, when Ballard's pay went from $315,000 to $322,000. We have more on that story at theeastcarolinian.com. Pay is a hot topic, especially when it comes to education. TEC TV reporter Caroline West has a special report on teacher pay in North Carolina and its effect here at the university.
North Carolina has been ranked as the 2nd worst state in the country for teachers. A new report by a review website called Wallet Hub ranked the state low in 3 areas: teacher safety, per pupil spending, and teachers' salary increases over the last decade. State Superintendent of Public Instruction June Atkinson says the rankings are upsetting.
It is so disappointing to me that North Carolina has slipped when it comes to teacher pay. That's not the way to treat the people who hold the future in their hands.
Since 2010, the state has seen a decrease of 27% of students enrolling in the programs, like the one at East Carolina.
Eastern North Carolina and other parts of the state depend so much on East Carolina to provide quality teachers.
We are down about 75 to 100 students who will be completing this semester in the undergraduate programs.
Vivian Covington monitors undergraduate enrollment for ECU's College of Education. She says it's hard recruiting high school students to go into education.
We don't have North Carolina Teaching Fellows anymore, which was a big scholarship program where we could entice very bright high school students into teaching. We have very little scholarship money, very little tuition support, so and then a low pay when you get out.
North Carolina has been hit hard, but Atkinson says this is a national issue.
We need a renewed commitment in our nation and also in our state to show our teachers how much we value them.
Thanks, Caroline. You can watch the whole story on theeastcarolinian.com. Joining us now in the studio is our news correspondent, Sydney Dobson. Sydney, the local elections have now come to an end. What can you tell us?
Yes, Jessica, elections are over and the votes are in. The incumbent Alan Thomas will serve for the city for 2 more years as he defeated Donna Whitley and Ernest T. Reeves by more than several thousand votes. For the city council at-large seat, the incumbent Calvin Mercer will remain as representative. For the district seats 1 and 2, Candy Smith and Rose Glover will continue to serve as council members. For District 3, ECU graduate McLean Godley defeated the incumbent Marion Blackburn in a close one. For District 4, Rick Smiley will remain as the representative, and coming in for District 5, PJ Connolly takes the seat over the incumbent Rick Croskery. In regards to the passing of the Greenville bond, majority of the citizens voted in favor of the bond. And now for a recap on a very event-filled weekend. One of the most anticipated holidays for ECU students has now come to an end. That's right, Halloween is over, folks. Looking into the weekend crime rate, GPD Public Information Officer Kristen Hunter says that compared to last year, there was a big improvement in the number of incidents that occurred. No acts of crimes were reported on ECU's campus. However, 3 apartment complexes reported incidents. At North Campus Crossing, at approximately 11:37 p.m., 27-year-old Antonio Carlos Bullock was stabbed in a fight that broke out in the visitors' parking lot. His friends drove him to a medical center where he suffered from serious but non-life-threatening injuries. No arrests have been made in connection with the incident yet. At the Province apartment complex, an assault was reportedly at approximately 1 a.m. The victim was treated in the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. And also in the Bellamy student apartments, at approximately 2 a.m., officers were patrolling the Signature Drive area when they heard gunshots fired in the parking lot of the complex. No one was injured, but police reportedly recovered a gun from the scene. As far as alcohol violations over the weekend, according to the alcohol law enforcement, roughly a total of 169 people were charged with alcohol, traffic, and drug violations. The reports are still being processed by the agency.
Wow, Sydney, that's just a lot of crime. But thank you for the update. But now we're on to sports, and we have a great sports segment for you today, including a feature on an ECU tennis player and a football recap from one of our football guys. And we also have a special visit from a star ECU athlete. Just a friendly reminder, we are really the plug for ECU athletics, and we find the outlet with the big man who can no longer outlet pass, as his basketball career has come to an end. Marshall Guillemette prematurely ended his basketball career this week due to a series of injuries. Guillemette was a 6'11" big man that averaged 5 points and 3 rebounds throughout his career. We wish Guillemette success in his future endeavors as he's slated to graduate this spring. We must shift the focus from a career-ending injury to a season-ending loss. Soccer took the pitch this Tuesday to play the number 11 team in the nation with their season on the line. The Pirates fought hard but were overmatched by the Yukon Huskies 3-1. The Pirates closed their season 8-10-2. Sticking to the trend of bad news in ECU athletics, the Pirates volleyball team dropped their 5th and 6th straight game over the weekend to Tulsa and SMU. The Pirates have dropped 8 of their last 10 games. The Pirates look to rebound as they travel to Florida for 2 games, one on Friday against USF and one on Sunday against UCF. Now we head to the net that's normally outside. Women's tennis traveled to South Carolina to play in the Coastal Carolina Halloween Invitational this weekend. They compiled a record of 11-11 in singles matches and 6-4 in the doubles matches. The team will head to Chapel Hill to compete in the Kitty Harrison Invitational this weekend to play in the final fall season competition. Men's tennis will also play in their final fall season competition this weekend. The team will compete in the Wake Forest Invitational in Winston-Salem. But this week I want to share the special journey of one tennis player. Most college students leave home as an 8-year-old. That is not the case for ECU tennis player Tendai Tefuma.
Well, it was hard. At a young age, it's really hard to leave home, but those are the decisions you have to make, I guess, if you want to take the next step. And, it wasn't just my decision, it was also my parents, and they thought it was best for me to do that. So, it was really hard for me on my part, but I had to do what I had to do.
Tefuma left home in Zimbabwe at the age of 12. He left to go to a school in South Africa to better hone his tennis skills.
South Africa had the better facilities for me to able to develop my tennis game. So I had to make that transition, and I think it was a good idea.
Tefuma said competition there better prepared him for competition here.
Standard here is pretty high because a lot of people here play a lot of matches. They play there's so many tournaments compared to back home. There's not too many tournaments, but that's.
Tefuma said one of the hardest things about leaving home was off the court.
It was hard, going back to Zimbabwe because it's a little bit different. If you spend a lot of years here and then go back home, it's a different scene. It's a different. But people always help you. It's a warm welcome back home. It's always good to be back home.
Tefuma said coming back home was sometimes tough because he was no longer familiar with his parents. But he said it was always great being back and said his family is proud of him.
They're very happy, to see me doing a bit of both, a bit of tennis and a bit of school, getting both done. So they're really happy for me and they want to see me do well, and I just have to keep up the work.
Tefuma was a highly touted transfer recruit from junior college, and the team is looking for a big year for him this year, as he will have to play at the top of the card. Tefuma is a senior going into this year. His team is very young, with most being freshmen. Tefuma looks to step into a leadership role this year.
Well, to be honest, I just have to be more of a leader to them, just try and contribute in a more positive way, and see what they have in them, trying to dig in deep. If they're feeling down, I have to be there for them, so I just have to be a leader.
Thanks to Tendai Tefuma for sharing his story, but Tendai is a senior, so this next story probably won't affect him. ECU has signed a 10-year deal with Adidas to produce the Pirate athletic gear beginning July of 2016. We'll have more on that story online at theeastcarolinian.com. And now, my Scott Kent, I must dive into swimming and diving. I say Scott Kent because he earned Conference Diver of the Week. Kent and his team will be in competition this weekend as they travel to Greensboro, North Carolina to compete against Clemson and Richmond. The swimmers have to go to Bowie's Creek, NC, and compete against Campbell and Gardner-Webb. And before we get into football, we have a special guest visit from all-conference runner Caroline Reiser. Last weekend, her and her team finished 4th in the conference tournament. The male counterparts finished 7th, and both teams had one all-conference finisher. Of course, Caroline, then Jorge Montez. The teams will compete this weekend in the three-stripe invitational in Cary, North Carolina. So, Caroline, what was it like earning all-conference?
Earning all-conference was my biggest accomplishment in cross-country so far, and it's been one of my goals since we joined the American Athletic Conference in 2014, so I was absolutely ecstatic to be all-conference.
What has the season meant to you?
This season has meant a lot to me, and it's been a time for me to really accomplish a lot of goals I set for myself in cross-country that I haven't been able to accomplish previously.
You've led your team all year, so what have you done to make you such a great performer?
Well, I began taking an iron supplement last April after I was diagnosed with an iron deficiency, and I really made an effort at that point to start taking care of myself really well and just making my health a priority so I could run better. And then this past summer, I was a lifeguard with the National Park Service at Essex Island National Seashore, and they put us through very vigorous training there, which really helped prepare me for the cross-country season.
All right, so what can you say is your goals? What are your goals for the rest of this year and going into next year?
Well, my goal for the rest of the cross-country season is to PR in my 6K under 21 minutes and to make top 25 in our regional meet, because that's all region. And then I just want to focus on getting my times down in track and focusing on all conference in track and making regionals in track too.
So what is your favorite moment? What is your favorite cross-country moment?
My favorite cross-country moment would be all conference.
All conference. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on everything this season. I hope that you do well in regionals.
Thank you.
And now we head to fellow Tech expert Adam Decker with football. Adam?
Well, Kai, East Carolina put in a poor performance when it traveled to East Hartford, Connecticut last Friday and lost to the UConn Huskies 31-13. The quarterback duo of James Summers and Blake Kemp combined for 4 interceptions as neither could establish any rhythm offensively. In addition to 4 interceptions, the Pirates fumbled 3 times, but were fortunate enough to recover all 3 drop balls. The depleting loss moved the Pirates to below 500 at the 9-game mark for only the second time in the last 10 years, as they now sit at 4-5 and 2-3 in the American Athletic Conference. Despite the lackluster loss, ECU jumped out to the early lead in the first quarter when safety Deshaun Benton intercepted UConn's Bryant Sharif for the pick 6. The extra point attempt would then be blocked, giving ECU the 6-0 lead. The Huskies would then go on a 24-0 scoring run over the next 2 quarters, making their lead 24-6 as the Pirates struggled vitally. After going scoreless in their previous 5 quarters, the Pirates offense finally scored late in the 4th quarter on a 2-yard touchdown run by Kemp. The ground game really opened up for the Pirates on the drive, as the passing attack was virtually non-existent. As comes with a struggling offense, the Pirate defense was on the field entirely too much, leaving them gassed down the stretch. Sharifs would score the final touchdown of the game for the Huskies on a 3-yard quarterback keeper, giving the game its 31-13 ending. This has been Adam Decker. Make sure to head over to theeastcarolinian.com to catch myself and the other tech experts preview this week's matchup against South Florida.